So first, thank you for the film. I really, I'm sure speaking for the rest of the audience, really enjoyed it. So, naturally the first question is, what was your inspiration for the film? What was sort of the motivation behind it?
I think the main thing was that when Giles and I were younger, we had a fairly bad experience with Shakespeare. And it wasn't until we got to drama school that we felt like we were given some tools to sort of be able to understand it. But our experience when we were 15 was, you know, as we said, a dark room, a dusty classroom, and it just wasn't for us at that age. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, we sort of came away from school thinking that Shakespeare wasn't for us. We discovered that a lot of people felt the same, friends and family, and so we sort of looked back and asked ourselves, okay, why is that? And basically we came up with the idea that Shakespeare, in recent times, has sort of been divorced from the heart, really. It's sort of, it's something which happens from here up. It's in education, you have to study at school. So we kind of wanted to make something which kind of connected Shakespeare as much about the heart as it is the head. Yep. So which is why we wanted to make it funny, we wanted to make it fast, we wanted to make it accessible so that people could relate to the people that were seeing on the screen and therefore feel slightly more relaxed. And then we could kind of get into slightly more what Shakespeare is about. So that was the starting point.
Okay, so did you, as you sort of touched on, did you hope that doing the documentary that it would make Shakespeare more accessible to the audience, and they feel they can connect with it on a level that maybe they hadn't done previously?
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, you know, I'm not quite as much of a douchebag as I come across in the film, but I mean, the idea was really to put ourselves out there so that we're quite accessible, really. And quite often when you see these films, they feel like they're not really for us, or not really about people. They feel like they're either kind of press junkety and you're just sort of sitting listening to a talking head, which I know there's a lot of those in there, but we hoped to try and create something where it felt like you were listening to someone connecting actually in the moment, as opposed to answering a classic question about Shakespeare. And then hopefully from that you made it more accessible so it can hopefully get into schools and people can sort of feel like Shakespeare is actually more for them.
Yeah.
Not for Oxbridge.
Not only for Oxbridge.
No, not only Oxbridge. Not for Oxbridge.
Because there's a place for that. There is a place for it to study, and you can study Shakespeare and find out things about philosophy, about history. You can find out lots of things by studying it. But as most of the people said here, unless it's alive and performed, then it's sort of dead.
To relate to.
So we just wanted to do something which is more in that. Which is why we weren't really interested in looking at who he was or what Stratford was all about. We just wanted to concentrate on the plays, the characters, and the stories.
Okay. So sort of starting out with the project, when you sort of worked out this is what we want to do, how did you sort of go about putting that in motion, so to speak? Did you sort of kind of have a list of, I don't know, actors, directors that you wanted to speak to, or did it kind of have no necessary initial starting point, but kind of just develop?
No, we had a fairly clear idea of what we wanted. We knew we wanted to have something in there that was in the classroom a little bit, which is why we've got this section from the National Theatre. But we did have a wish list, which was ridiculous. It's like 280 people or something on the list, and we just started contacting them really. And because of working, you know, as actors, we got a few access points to a few different people. And through one of Giles' friends, we were able to get Ian McKellen, and Sir Ian McKellen. And once Ian said yes, then obviously, you know, various other people said yes. And it gives you slightly more cheek and gall to go and ask even more people.
Yeah.
And it just opened up from that, really.
Cool. Okay, so the project was quite a long one, obviously 4 years is a really long time. Do you feel like the project changed and evolved over the time that you were doing it, or do you kind of feel like what you had in mind at the beginning is what you kind of ended up with, essentially?
We sort of we've had that question come up, and we sort of disagree on that a little bit.
Only a little bit.
A little bit. From my perspective, it never really changed. It was just a case of how we would go about doing it, and also not being sort of put off when people said they couldn't do it. A lot of the people said yes. People either said come to the theatre next week, or come to the house next week, or they said I'm filming, so let's try and do it. And it took like a year and a half. Judy Dench, Basil Ehrman, James L. Jones, Ewan McGregor, they all took sort of about a year and a half. and it's a case of just kind of persevering and not being knocked off balance too much. But essentially, the sort of essence of it, I don't think really changed. You just have to. We also wanted to make sure that we were open for if opportunities should arise, we would not be too rigid that we couldn't move with them. The whole thing is about taking advantage of opportunities. But
that's the only thing. It was like, I think we went a little bit left field. Sorry, we went a little bit. You know, we would go with opportunities, and I think that probably surprised me at some point. You know, like, actually, you can go and do this. Yeah, we can go to a prison in Berlin, which hadn't really been on in my headspace when we started making it. So those really were the only kind of things where it took us on a slightly different journey. Yeah.
Okay, was comedy, I suppose, an element of it that you thought in the beginning you thought would be part of it, or did that kind of happen as you look back over the filming and stuff like that, and you kind of thought, well, actually, this is quite humorous?
Oh god, that's a good question. Well, I think when we first started doing interviews, we weren't quite sure what form the film would take, and I think we felt like it might have become a bit more talking heads than it actually was. Wouldn't have been as kind of still as rigid as we, because we were trying to get away from that. But I think the more we kind of went on these journeys, the more fun we had, and that kind of fed into a lot of the interviews and a lot of the experiences, and the more people we showed bits and pieces to, the more there's actually you should probably just be in this, because otherwise these talking heads don't really make sense, really, because they're your stories.
But also we knew that you know, we did a lot of research, and you look at everyone's talked about Shakespeare a lot over the years, especially some of the older generation, the Ian McKenzie, they've been talking about Shakespeare for years and years and years and years. So we looked at all of that and said, okay, well, what's going to make our film different? Yeah. And we wanted to sort of engender an atmosphere where people could really feel relaxed. It's quite difficult to talk about Shakespeare, as it's quite difficult to talk about acting without coming across as sort of wanky or indulgent. And it's true, and if you're not in that world, it can be quite off-putting, which is exactly what we wanted to avoid. So we sort of really tried to have an atmosphere where people could feel completely relaxed as possible and just have a conversation, which is why we both asked questions. We just wanted it to be a real kind of easygoing conversation, which meant that rather than have a whole crew, we said it was just us. So we kind of embraced the idea of, look, we're just two actors, we just have a conversation, it's just us. And that's kind of what people responded to. So we sort of played up to that idea of the humour. And also that's what we like. We like comedy films. We like films, you know, or the Lauren and Hardy films, or Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor films and all that kind of stuff. And we just wanted to use that. That's, you know, Shakespeare's funny. Shakespeare's funny, and we wanted to sort of bring that out and reflect what the subject matter is.
Okay. Obviously you sort of touched on some of it during the film in terms of like finances and the timescale and stuff. What do you think was the biggest stumbling blocks you found in making this?
Money. Well, I mean, partially money, but just a sort of trying to fit in actually earning money around making the film. So we were in that weird position that we'd have to stop for like, well, we never really stopped, but we'd have to have a moment where, like, okay, I can't do anything this week because I'm basically fitting a bathroom or whatever, or building a kitchen, and then the other week Giles would be off doing a commercial, I'd be doing a voiceover, or whatever. So, but those things were paramount to us getting the film made. So we would just always be sort of doing it, but always be on guard. So as Giles said, we could jump and do an interview with Ewan McGregor on a Saturday morning when we weren't expecting, which is kind of what happened.
Okay. What do you feel like you gained, I suppose, out of this? I mean, it's 4 years, as we said, it's taken a lot of time and energy to get it all done, get it complete, and the outcome's obviously been really great, but what do you personally feel that you gained from this as an experience, I suppose?
In weight.
That's the main thing, apparently.
Well, right now it is. I mean, like, the thing is, it's an amazing experience, and like, there's a sort of weird conceit to being in the film as well, and hopefully, we don't take ourselves seriously, and the most important thing is that what we gained is this amazing amount of knowledge. It was the best masterclass we as actors could have ever had in the world, and hopefully, through doing the film, you whet enough people's appetite to want to go and investigate Shakespeare's work more. And from our point of view, it doesn't stop with the film. We have 100 interviews of varying lengths from an hour to 2 hours or 4 hours with Sir McCann. So the idea is to try and get those out off the back of the film that people can actually watch and enjoy like we enjoyed it actually. There's a million other things that I gained and lost and wrote off.
It's a good question. I think sometimes when you look at it, at points along the way, you realise that there's a sort of correlation between the idea of making a film, and actually sort of tackling Shakespeare, whether you're a student in a classroom looking at it going, right, I've got to do my exam on this, or whether you're an actor going, right, I've got to go out and do this at the National or the Globe or wherever. That predicament of going, right, how am I going to tackle this? How am I going to achieve this? We noticed that within the filmmaking project. So what we wanted to do, I'm not explaining myself so well, is to just bring out...
I'm hanging with you, so just keep going.
Bring out the difficulties and the challenges of actually making the film, so that you can then... The message is basically, you can do it. If you persevere, roll your sleeves up, take a deep breath, go for it. That's really the only way to tackle it. And then ultimately you look and you go, well, there couldn't be a better metaphor for life anyway than Shakespeare. Because that's, again, it's no matter what it is you're doing, whether you're having a child, having a family, whether you're starting a new job, whether you're splitting up with your marriage and you're starting a fresh start, whatever it is you're going to do in life, you basically have to look at it, know exactly what you want to do, take a deep breath and go for it. So we kind of wanted to sort of investigate that, and I think that's something that I've learned. But as long as you know what it is you want and you stick to that, then you'll hopefully come out with even a fraction of what you set out to do, and that's what we did. So now taking that back into Shakespeare, it's made it. Not just Shakespeare, any other project, you kind of go, right, well, we did that, so we can do whatever the next project is.
Okay, speaking of Azarman, but not specifically him, who did you each individually enjoy interviewing, I suppose, and speaking to the most?
That's a tough one.
They were all fun. Judi Dench was good. Judi Dench was great.
Diplomatic answer.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, everyone was amazing. Like, everyone was amazing. There wasn't anyone that we that you kind of go, oh god, they were a bit cold. Like, everyone was amazing and lovely, and like that, I think that's the biggest thing I think we discovered is that some of these people, we are all the same actually, and all these perceptions of these people, it is just literally from the media. Like, there's nothing. Everyone is the same, and they were happy to talk to us. If they had the time, they were happy to talk to us. They all invited us to their homes or to their gardens or to. I wouldn't have thought that would have happened. I would have thought we'd have always been in a little room somewhere in Soho, and they were very, very generous and very, very giving. So I couldn't ever isolate any one person as being more than anyone else, really. But Baz was pretty cool, and Judi was just even cooler.
But it's like for different reasons, though, isn't it? Because, for instance, James Earl Jones, we're massive Star Wars fans.
God, I miss it. See, this is what you're doing right now. You're taking more important.
All of those films that he was in, so that was a sort of hero thing. And then Ewan McGregor was great because he was so honest, and he was just really nice, and we felt he gave us a really good interview. He was just very open.
But also Michael Grandage and Jude Law. Like, without him being so open and so generous, that whole section wouldn't have happened. And to us, Jude was kind of a really interesting person to talk to because he's this incredibly successful superstar who's doing Shakespeare. And yes, you do get people going to see his work because it's Jude Law. But then he does have that moment where he pulls people into a different world, and they sort of see him slightly differently as this Hamlet.
But then also, this is what we like on the road the whole time. It's like 15 hours driving
but
down
we're just more shit food.
But then also, we always loved, remember, like the kids that we spoke to at school.
Yeah.
They were great, and we spent like 2 different days with them. The Shakespeare Schools Festival was in both of our respective hometowns, so we spent 2 days each with them. And some of them were great. They were just they were just really open, and you know the way kids are, they'll just tell you exactly what it, when you saw it. And so speaking to them was great. It wasn't just about, oh, that's a huge star and that's what we're aiming at.
I can understand that. I mean, looking at it myself, obviously I wasn't 100% what to expect. I thought, you know, you'd be speaking to the actors, etc. But seeing, for instance, the guy you spoke to that works with the prisoners, for me that was a moment where I thought, you know, this is really accessible Shakespeare, and the way it brought things out in them, and you know, some of the people speaking, you could tell they were taking something from this, and maybe they thought they'd never understand it. So yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Can I just say one more little bit
on this?
When we were in America, when we stopped, well, we stopped at this little place, and Ed Cornelli, the guy that you saw in this little theatre, for us, he was a weird character, because he really encapsulated everything about Shakespeare for us. That there's this little guy was spending his own money producing Shakespeare because he thinks there's a value in what he's doing, and he was a really lovely experience for us. So yeah, I'm going to go with Ed.
When did you know it was over, and is it over? Because, I mean, you might still get a call from someone who says, "Oh, I'm ready for that interview 4 years down the line."
I can answer this.
Yeah, go on.
Well, you know it's over because there's a point where it just feels over. However, you know, what does over really mean? I mean, like, I'm still sort of gently putting feelers out there for different people, because we've got this resource which we want to keep building on, actually, and because it's this wonderful resource, it's going to be a resource that's free, that anyone can look at, and so if people will give up their time, then I'll give up our time, and every time I say that, it takes another bit of them away. But you know, and so potentially, if people are interested to talk about it, then we'll keep going. And there's a couple of things which we're going to be announcing in the next couple of months, which will be kind of exciting. So, yeah, I don't know is the answer. Does it? I don't know.
Have you got any plans to take it into schools? Because it seems like it would be a good resource to take the fear out of it as people are studying.
Yeah, we'd like to. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we made it. I mean, awards and festivals and all that is great, but and it's very great, but we really wanted to make it so that people could see it, so that it would be the kind of thing that we wanted to watch when we were kids or when we were at drama school. So that was always our intention. So we're working on it. Are you a teacher?
No.
She's an actress.
Have you tried, I'm guessing you probably have, but is there any chance that you'd be able to get it on TV, on BBC or Channel 4? Because it's the kind of thing that, I don't know about anybody else, but on Channel 4, this kind of stuff I think goes down really well. And I think
the question was, when is it going to be on television? And it is. Yeah,
thanks to the two guys that are sitting in front of you, yeah. It's going to be on BBC 4, I believe it's 24th of October,
yeah.
10 o'clock.
It's kind of also an observer. I think the thing that was so engaging is I think you've created a new genre, and that you've now created the road buddy movie documentary.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's like a popcorn documentary is the way we always looked at it, or a popumentary, you know, something that, as you say, is borrows from kind of different genres and kind of is its own thing.
The moment you said Wilder and Pryor, was like, even both has like, oh my god, this is a road movie.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Brilliant. Well, thank everyone for obviously coming to the screening of Muse of Fire, and thank you, Dan and Giles, for the screening and for the Q&A.
And don't forget
the producers. Who are we not forgetting?
No, I was going to say, don't forget to tweet and spread the word.
Don't forget that either.
Good.
We need that.
Thank you.